Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Thursday, February 13th, and we've got a little bit going on in the news here. It's just after market open. Markets look like, for the most part, they're positive. The NASDAQ and Dow Jones are up. Trump has committed to announcing reciprocal tariffs at 1 p.m. today. So we'll see what comes out of that. That has the potential for sure to rattle markets. He's also said he's had a call with the presidents of both Russia and Ukraine and believes that he's able to negotiate a deal. The deal is, I guess, a win globally, potentially, to stop and end that war. But it looks like it's going to come at a pretty significant cost to the European Union. And I'm not sure they are 100% behind what he's proposing on their behalf, which is what it sounds like. So it'll be interesting to see whether that what they're saying is around a $3 trillion bill. Believe that's over about 10 years for Ukraine to be rebuilt, its military to be established, and then the eastern borders to be protected. So that will be an interesting one. Eggs, obviously, a major part of inflation yesterday. We also this morning had the PPI come out, the producer price index, and was a little lower than December and almost the same as November. So it did say it tops estimates, but it's down kind of in the November range. So it's not as high as December, which is positive, but it's not as low as August, September, and October. So it does seem to be creeping up slightly. And that ties in to what we saw with CPI yesterday and inflation. Today's a pretty big day in the markets themselves for semiconductors. And if we take a look at the Yahoo Finance app across the board, crude's off. It was off about $1. Now it's off about 66 cents, but it's just above $70 at 70.71. So it's definitely near its low for, I'm going to say, the last probably this part of the year, though so far this year. Then we get into the VIX. The VIX has fallen under 16, which is positive, but not to say that it's going to remain there, especially when we get to 1 o'clock and we hear about reciprocal tariffs. We get down into health and retail, and everything is in the green except Humana. Humana's had a few hard days, even after some good earnings. It's been struggling, and so we'll see if that can turn itself around this year. Home Depot up. There's some talk that there's belief that Home Depot is going to do well on in this quarter with both its earnings, revenue, and future forecasts. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. It's going to announce in the coming weeks. You've got transports, JB Hunt down, CNR up slightly at 147. Oil is a mix of green and red, but mostly red today with crude off. So it's pulling back slightly. And then we get into tech, and tech is starting off to have a pretty good day. We've got Applied Materials coming out at 4 o'clock after market close today with an announcement of earnings. So that will be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I'm fairly bullish on Applied Materials going into its earnings report. There was another article out today that private money or smart money has been backing the truck up to NVIDIA and nibbling away at that at its current price levels. So what they're saying there is there's a lot of institutional investors that, as opposed to retail investors, that have been buying NVIDIA on the pullback or on the drop, feeling pretty confident in what it's going to report in its coming quarter and future quarters this year with its future forecasts. So I'm in agreement. I've been picking up a fair bit in NVIDIA recently, and NVDL, and I believe that it is still in the very early days. Now, it's probably not going to grow at the 100, 200% a year level, but it should do pretty well in the multiple digit percentages on annual basis going forward, especially with the CapEx spending that we continue to hear about out of some of these large Mag 7 companies, and then many others who aren't obviously spending the same amount, but are spending an increased proportionate amount in their capital expenditures. We scroll down further, looking at big moves for the most part today. Won't get into too many individuals. ARM is down at 155. I think ARM, if NVIDIA comes out with good numbers, and if AMAT, Applied Materials, and Broadcom later come out, not Broadcom's not today, but later in the quarter come out, I think it'll lift ARM. ARM had some good earnings. I think those will only continue with its licensing revenue. We have Alibaba off today. So Bubba was one of the ones that was been making a comeback. It's down slightly, down about $2 right now. Google is down in the low, we'll call it mid 180s. I think it's an absolute steal at that price range. And then TSM off $6 today. I think at $200 a share, TSM is an absolute bargain. We also have Twilio, which has earnings today. So we'll have to keep an eye on Twilio. I'm not super familiar with Twilio. I'm not, although it's on the list of stocks I follow. It's one that I'm not super acquainted with, so I'm not going to pretend to talk to that when I don't know that much about it. Yeah, Meta has had, I think it's now 18 green days in a row, so it's definitely due for a bit of a pullback. And then we've got Tesla, and reports coming out this morning that Doge was reviewing forms from the State Department, and they were going to purchase 400 million armored Teslas as of the fall of last year. Tesla's name is no longer on that document. So other car companies like BMW still are, but Tesla is not. So they may have lost a $400 million contract with the State Department for armored Teslas there. That remains to be seen. And then AVGO dropping down. I'd still want to wait to see that come down a little bit more, but definitely believe that AVGO is a solid stock, especially going into earnings March 6th. But we have quite a runway between now and March 6th with pending tariffs and many other unknowns that could cause the market to go both up and down. So you want to be very careful. APO has pulled back a fair bit. That's Apollo Global Management, recently added to the portfolio. I like that at 158. So keep an eye on that one. SoFi, I still love SoFi. I think it's an absolute rock star of a company. Watched a video the other day from someone saying it's the stock to own for 2025. I think they missed the year there. It was the stock to own for 2024 when it tripled. It may still be a great stock to own, but I think it will have, I don't think it's going to triple this year. So we've got that. And then scrolling down into the bigger names, I'm staying away from a lot of the bigger names right now in finance because I think they've kind of peaked. And until we start to see some earnings to justify that, I think they're a bit overpriced. So that's where we are today. If you're liking the videos,